Since a few versions, Xcode comes with the possibility to activate Vim mode. Even though it's not exactly the whole package that Vim brings. So Vim is an editor and Xcode is also an editor, but Vim is on the command line and you navigate through keyboard commands and that stuff. And the Xcode team added Vim mode to Xcode a few years ago. And I use it all the time, and I want to show you my favorite commands, Vim commands in Vim mode in Xcode. And I'd also show you or tell you what is missing, in my opinion. Okay, so let's switch to Xcode. So this is Xcode, a project of mine open, and I already have Vim mode activated. You can deactivate it here and activate it in editor. Here, this is the switch Vim mode, and the difference between Vim mode and non-Vim mode is that you now have two additional modes in your editor. So when you start the Vim mode, you have this cursor, this blinking block cursor, and this is the normal mode. In normal mode, you can't type in like in normal Xcode without Vim mode. You have the commands, the keyboard commands, they work differently. For example, you can navigate in Xcode using the keys H, J, K, L. So when I press H, I'm moving in that direction. When I press J, I'm moving downwards. When I press K, upwards. And when I press L, I'm moving to the right. And this is intentionally used by the developers of Vim back in the time, because this is where your hand is laying on your keyboard all the time. So you can easily move around in your code using this, this shortcut or this Vim command. If you want to type something, you have to switch to another command, to another mode, to the insert mode. You do this with different kinds of or several kinds of commands. For example, input. So you just press E for input. Then you switch to the insert. No, sorry, it's insert. You switch to the insert mode, and then you can start typing. If you typed something you don't want to have in your code, you can switch back to normal mode using the escape key and then press the U key. That undoes what you have just done. You can also switch to the insert mode. For example, if I want to add at the end of this line some characters, some code, I can press capital A. That moves the cursor to the end of the line and switches to insert mode. If I do this with a normal A, I'm just switching to insert mode, but after the cursor position. So I'm now on the U with my cursor. If I press A, I'm after the U and can start typing. If I'm typing E when I'm on the U, in this case, I'm switching to insert mode, but type at the beginning of this word. What else? I can also, when I'm in the line and I want to, for example, I want to change the system name of this UI image I'm using here. So I want to move the cursor to this wrench and screwdriver, what's written there, back there. And I can do this with the find command. The find command lets you move the cursor on the line you're right now working on. So I'm using the find command with F, and then I'm typing the character I want to find. And in this case, it's W. But there are several W's on this line. So to move to each of those separately, I can use the semicolon. The semicolon repeats the last find command. When I want to find backwards, I use the capital F, and now the W, for example, then I move backwards. And when I want to repeat that movement, I can use the semicolon again. Let's say I want to copy a line. I can do this with the yank command. When I use y, so y 2 times, I yank the current line. And if I want to insert it again, I can move to the line where I want to insert it, and then I press P for paste. So in this case, it doesn't make sense. So I'm removing it again with the U command, but you get the idea. Another nice command I'm using all the time is when I want to remove code from the position where the cursor is at and start typing. I use the capital C command. That removes everything after the current cursor position and switches to insert mode. So I'm undoing this. Another thing I like to use is when I have to search or want to know where is this symbol I'm right now, where the cursor is positioned right now, where is this symbol used again. I can use the wait a minute. It's the star symbol. When I type the star symbol, it moves to the next occurrence of this symbol, and it's now switched to a search mode. So I can now press the N button for next to switch to the next occurrence of this symbol. And again, next. If I want to reverse the search, I'm still in the search mode. When I want to reverse this search right now I'm using capital N, and then it searches backwards. That's quite nice. And another thing I use a lot is when let's say I have this word. So this word where the cursor is actually at the moment positioned, and I want to copy this word. I want to put this word in the copy buffer. I can do this by yank inside word. And now I have yanked this word where the cursor is right now positioned in. I can show you that when I press P, I paste the word that's in the copy buffer at the moment. So this is quite useful when you have to select a word and you don't want to use, or you want to copy a word and you don't want to use your mouse or your trackpad. That is quite easy to do in Vim mode with this command. And another thing I use regularly is the virtual mode. You can switch to virtual mode by using capital V. So it now selects the whole line, and if I move the cursor around, I can select or highlight a part of my code. And now I can do with this code whatever I like. For example, I can delete it. Now it's deleted, it's gone. But when I delete it, it's also put into the copy buffer, and I can insert it again with the P command, for example, or I can do the U command to undo what I just did. And I use that a lot, for example, when I want to copy this type of initialization of an image, and now I want to change the name of this image because I have, let's say I have another image here that's called foo indicator image. Oh wait, the capital E. And now I want to change this one here. I can. This is nothing that had nothing to do with Vim mode, but I can, for example, switch to multi-cursor by going into insert mode and then use Control Shift and the keyboard, the cursor movement, so the, the arrows, and then I can oh wait a minute, that was wrong. Used the wrong one. So I can now move around and for example select this part of the word and change it to foo, for example. That's one way to copy something I've done for one of my images and do it for another image as well. But I can also do can also use the tip I showed in Xcode tips. When I have this type of so I have here a word I want to select, and I want to select all the occurrences from there on, not the one on top. When I use Control Command E, it selects all of them. It selects all that can find in that scope, and this is not what I want in this case. I just want to select the next occurrences. And this is the command I can use here. This is also nothing to do with Vim mode, but it just happens to be very useful in this case of scenario. I can use Option Command Y to select the next occurrences, ignoring the other ones. And then I can stop when I'm finished selecting all of them. And then I can move around the cursor, can switch to insert mode. Oh wait, now in insert mode. And then I can use foo indicator image and change all the code at once. That's also very helpful. So in combination of the V commands, the switch to virtual mode, it's very handy to copy, delete, move around some code you want to edit. So another thing is, I already mentioned it when we selected some code, we can delete with the D command. So we select, for example, I select this empty line, and I can delete it using the D command. Or let's use this one here. I can select it and use the D command. But there's an even faster way to delete one line, and that is DD. When I press DD, delete is used on the whole line. That's also the case for what we already have seen, the yank command. When I use yank, so YY 2 times, I yank the current line and can insert it again with the P command. So this is also quite useful. And if I select some code and want to use the yank command, I only use it 1 time, because when I use it 2 times, it yanks the current line where the cursor is positioned at the moment. So if you select some code using the V command, so virtual mode, capital V, select something, and you want to copy what is just selected or highlighted at the moment, you can use the yank command and have copied both of those lines. If you, let's see, if you want to select only part of a line, not the whole line, then you can also use the virtual mode by using V, not capital V, but V. Then you are switching to virtual mode, but not by selecting whole lines, but just part of lines. And then I can again here use the yank command. So I've selected, let's say I select only part of this name, so image width, and I use the yank command. And if I now use the P command, you see I've just added this in where the cursor was positioned. So this is also a very nice tool to use. Another thing I use some time is when I want to move to the end of the line, I can use the capital G command. Then I switch to the end of the line, and I forget how to get back. I think it's 0. No. Okay. I don't know how to move backwards in in normal Vim, so not Vim mode in Xcode, but in Vim you would use the :0 command to move to the first line. But it doesn't work in this in Xcode, unfortunately. What else? Let me think. I think this is most of the things I use over all the time. There are also other movement commands, but I don't use them very often. You can see them in here in the lower part of Xcode, where it shows when you have activated Vim mode, it shows what you can do. For example, you can move to the end of the line using the E command. That can be helpful. Or you can, what I also use a lot is change word. Let's say I want to change the word that is where the cursor is positioned. So I want to change from that cursor position to the end of the word. Say I want to remove the into constraints. I can change word and then start typing. I can do the same by just deleting, not changing. So just staying in normal mode, just deleting the end of from the cursor position to the end of the word by using the dv command. So delete word, then it deletes until the end of the word. What else? If I want to delete, I can also combine some of those commands. For example, I can change, I think, I'm not sure, but you can, for example, do something like change all the code within until the next semicolon or until the next curly braces or something like that. But I don't use it often, so I always forget how it's done. I can't show you that at the moment. What is missing in Xcode Vim mode? I'm not a very sophisticated Vim user. I just used it to edit code and to edit text files and that stuff, but I didn't use it a lot, like all those fancy details Vim provides. It has copy buffers, it has so many features I don't understand and never used it. You can read books about Vim, and I didn't do all those fancy stuff. But what I did and what is missing from Xcode is the dot command. The dot command repeats the last command you did. Let's say, for example, I add a comma to the end of this line. So I use capital A to switch to insert mode on this line and jump to the end of the line. And then I insert a comma. And if I would now switch back to normal mode in Vim and use the dot command, it would do the same again. So it would switch to insert mode at the end of the line and repeat the insert. This is missing from Vim mode in Xcode, unfortunately, and I would love to see that, but I understand that it's kind of complicated because the Vim mode in Xcode would have to keep track what was done in the last editing occurrences, what was done during the last editings, and then repeat that in a new context, for example, on a new line, for example, or something like that. So I can imagine that it's not that easy to implement, but this is something I would love to see. But I guess we won't see that in the future because I have the feeling that they don't change it anymore. So if ever Vim mode breaks, I could imagine that they even don't care and don't fix it. But until then, we have a nice tool to move around, to keep our fingers on the keyboard while moving around. or while selecting some code and doing stuff with it. And that's quite nice, and I love using it. What I would also like to see if that I can save my changes using the :v command. That's also not possible. So I have also, when I want to save something, I have to use the normal Command S, for example, to save what I just did. But nevertheless, quite a nice addition to Xcode, and I use it a lot to figure out what's to move around, to change something, and also to search. When I'm on a word, I want to search it. Oh, one thing I forgot: you can also switch to search to the Xcode search by using the / command. Then it opens the find bar at the top of Xcode, and you can start typing to search something in your code. That's also quite useful. Let me know in the comments if you use Vim Mode and if you have some of the commands you use a lot that I didn't mention, because I would also like to improve my usage of Vim Mode in Xcode. So if you like that video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, please use the other one. And if you want to see more of that kind of information and videos, please subscribe, and see you next time.